Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
This show is a proud member of the Unsung Podcast Network.
How has Starfleet Academy shaped the heroes of the Federation? We're going to be asking this question and a lot more in today's episode of Systematic Geekology. We are the Priests of the Geeks. I'm your host, Christian Ashley, joined today by an esteemed gentleman, a lover of Star Trek as well, Justin Coleman. How's it going, Justin?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We're going to have fun, and part of that is we're going to talk about what we're geeking out on. Justin, what have you been geeking out on recently?
Oh, man. So I am, excited for this He-Man movie. I'm ready for it, want to see it. So geeking out in anticipation of this movie. Also, I think I've shared before that I have been following this show for all mankind. And I'm really interested in how this season is progressing. So, yeah, those are the things I'm geeking. What about you?
Yeah, my dad's been trying to get me to watch that one. It's on my list. Have you watched the 80s Masters of the Universe film by Canon?
Oh, yes. I know the whole movie, maybe by heart.
Yeah. That's never been my franchise, but it's like every now and then I'll watch the movie or an episode. It's fun. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the movie, too. But I've actually gotten back into Pokemon Go very recently. I was helping my brother move in Chicago to a new place. And, there's something they have there that they don't have here in rural Denver, North Carolina, and that's Pokestops. So, you know what? Why not? It's been fun. I had to stop years ago because I was spending money on it, and I have an addictive personality. So now I see, am I in a better place? Can I stop myself? It's kind of a testing ground for me, too. I also get to walk, which is something I need to be doing anyways for exercise.
Well, I hope it goes well. I hope you don't fall off the Poke Wagon. You're able to keep it in between the lines.
You're all my sponsors now. You're going to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
Because you've been spending money. All right. So, getting into this premise as well, we're doing the faces behind us for, we've done multiple characters. Now we're actually doing it for an organization. So many ways we could have gone through this. This is not a show about the Starfleet Academy show. I'm sure we'll probably bring it up at some point in time. I'm sure the opinions will abound on everything that happened there because we got one more season after this. Yes. Yeah. As it got canceled. So, Justin, would you like to explain to the good people what Starfleet Academy is?
Starfleet Academy is one of the greatest formation engines in all of science fiction. I'm going to lay stake to that claim. I mean, you might think about in Star Wars, the Jedi Academy and how that works across time. Starfleet Academy also looms large. It's not just a school where you go to learn how to navigate or fly a ship, pilot a ship, or to recite all the regulations of Starfleet as well as Jean-Luc Picard. But it's a place where you learn how to become a certain kind of person under pressure. It is meant to shape your curiosity, and courage and diplomacy and sacrifice and responsibility, all these kinds of virtues that will make a person, a graduate of Starfleet Academy, not only a good officer, but a good person. And you see those values coming up over and over again in Star Trek, particularly in Next Generation forward, all the shows that were produced after that. And so, and so it forms the best captains in the room in various ways, not just because they're the smartest, but they're all very bright, these captains. But it's really how they lead ethically when the ethics of the situation becomes complicated. Starfleet Academy teaches you how to do that.
Think of it like your ultimate college. Like, we've gone to the stars, we've experienced other races, and now they're coming here to Earth. We're learning. We're in this one big happy federation, which has its creaks and cracks every now and then. But you know what? That's part of the fun. We don't have a perfect system here, as much as Roddenberry wanted to make one. But you know what? It's a good thing he's not in charge anymore. Rest in peace. Yeah. But we still have this wonderful system of, hey, we have to learn about xenobiology now. It's not just human anatomy we have to care about. We have to care about history that isn't just Earth history. Yeah. We have to care about mapping planets out. How do you do it responsibly? Is the captain supposed to beam down immediately? Never. But you know what? We wouldn't have a show otherwise. Like, let's learn about how can we work together well. Like, it's kind of one of the ultimate tests of, can you work with other people as you are increasing your own knowledge kind of ways. And there's multiple ways they do that. Like, we don't get everything shown of like, hey, this class is taught by X professor. Like, there are mentions every now and then. So there aren't too many main characters of a Starfleet Academy in that sense, as far as like leaders and directors and the like. But we get enough in the show, especially, post Wrath of Khan, where we're really kind of introduced to the concept of, training a Starfleet officer before they head off into to go where no man has gone before, or no one has gone before, as we want to say now. So before we go any further, Justin, like, what is your history with like Star Trek as a whole?
Yeah, so Star Trek is arguably where I learned to really love sci-fi. I mean, it and Star Wars were working in kind of a parallel for me, but in those days, Star Trek is where you could invest in a kind of a serial way, right? And watching episodes. So I learned to love Star Trek with one of my older brothers, who sat me down to watch episodes of the original series and talk about why he loved Kirk and Spock and Bones and all the rest of Uhura and all the rest of the bridge crew. So then, and I loved it because I wanted to hang out with my brother, and this was one of the ways that we could do it. And then when the Next Generation came out, I was primed and ready for it. And boy, that became my show. It such that to the extent possible, I would myself, but also help my family to be home in time to watch it when it premiered every week. So I remember times in the car, in the station wagon with my parents saying, we got 10 minutes left. Like, Dad, could we drive any faster? I don't want to miss the beginning. So yeah, that was my, and I love Next Generation. Even still today, it's like a comfort food of TV. And so if I'm just milling around the house or just it's been a tough week, throw on some TNG and relax and have a good time.
And that throws me back just to the days of like before streaming and everything, before like next day releases. You had to be there. You literally had to be there. You had to choose which channel you were going to watch, and you had limited options then, but still you had to choose that one, and you had to choose to be there at the time it was going to premiere. Otherwise, you'd have to wait for reruns, or you'd have to just like go the next morning. I didn't get to see it. What happened? And,
well, that's so true. I mean, I had my one of my best friends, Mark. He and I would watch every single time together, and like as soon as the episode was over, we'd pick up the phone. Hey, what do you think about this, this, and this? And I never wanted to be the one who was like, dude, I missed it. What happened?
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah, for me, like you said with Star Wars, I can't really there's not even a time in my life I can imagine that this wasn't a part of my life.
Mm.
I grew up with these. And like the whole, Trekkie versus, Star Wars fan, like it was never a thing. Yeah, I still prefer Star Wars overall, but I was like, why do I have to choose? Like, I
Right.
love both of these. My dad was a huge Trekkie growing up. He watched when it was in syndication because he was just a little boy.
Mhm.
He would always fight with his sister because like she would always want to watch I think it was like a Davy Crockett show that was on at the same time Star Trek would run. And it would be like who would get to win. Like whenever his dad wanted to watch a baseball game or something, like there would always be conflicts between them. But growing up, TNG was airing. It started 3 years before I was born, so I
Mhm.
didn't really. Would watch it with him as a kid, but not really understand anything.
Mhm.
Until I got to a certain age, we would watch the original series together. Deep Space Nine, Voyager, eventually Enterprise when that came out. It's just kind of one of those things that has always brought us closer together. And it's how I know I'm the favorite because no other child has watched Star Trek and enjoyed it outside of my sister for the movies because she just finds Chris Pine hot. But that's
Ah.
it.
Oh man, so good. The origin stories of Star Trek. Yeah, I mean, I was in elementary school when TNG came out, so it was and I still have in my office at the church my full Enterprise D bridge set and bridge
Yeah.
officers there. And so when anyone comes to my office, they see all this religious stuff. Then on this big table, they're like, "So what is this?" And I said, here is. This helps you to know that my priesthood is also to the geeks.
I should probably one day film and just put on YouTube or something like my dad's room right now. He's got all the different ships and action figures. And that's just the Star Trek stuff. He's also got Hercules and Space Ghost and all this other stuff up there. It's like, you know what? That you couldn't mistake that this man is a geek. That's how his room was when he was teaching. It was the same thing. He had posters all over the walls for health and PE class, Marvel and Star Trek and Star Wars and everything. It's like, yep, no mistaking it.
Yeah.
I know where I get it from. I get it honest.
Yeah, right.
Hey, podcast fam. Want to stay even more connected with the show? We've got you covered. Check us out on Instagram and Blue Sky, where we're posting exclusive content and bonus videos and fun updates that you won't get anywhere else. From sneak previews of upcoming episodes to bonus content, our social accounts are the best way to keep the conversation going. Plus, it's a great spot for you to interact with other listeners and share your thoughts. We love hearing from you. When you follow us, it helps us grow and continue bringing you the content that you love. Whether it's a funny poll, a quick clip from today's episodes, or just random thoughts, you'll feel more plugged into everything we're doing. So go ahead and hit that follow button on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's one more way to be a part of the show and keep the good vibes flowing. Thanks for being a part of the family, and we can't wait to see you there.
All right. So I'm going to ask a difficult question next because it kind of breaks everything. But that's one of the good things, as we've noticed several times before. These things aren't here. The people that don't help build us up are there, or the character we're talking about isn't there. Like the story would break. So, Justin, if Starfleet Academy doesn't exist, like how does the story of Star Trek progress at all?
So if Starfleet Academy didn't exist, I think that the Federation would be more Earth-centric and more militaristic.
Okay.
And so it's like one of these, parallel universe kind of things within Star
not
Trek.
full mirror, but not exactly better.
Yeah, right. So because I think that for me, Starfleet Academy represents virtue formation that moves characters beyond fear of the other, and toward this heart toward exploration. And you see even within Starfleet Academy that is this tension in between the two. Who are we? But I think that without that kind of virtue formation, what we find in the human character, at least, is that we tend our fear moves us to tend toward militarism. And so would we reach for the stars? Yes. Would we have done that? Would we be as open and inclusive of others as we journey through space? I'm not sure. And so, especially if, as you encounter groups like the Romulans and Klingons kind of early on, who are more militaristic, we could have very easily just matched energy.
You saying that actually prompted something I should have added to the outline. So I'm gonna throw it here. Like, is Starfleet a military?
Well, yeah. I mean, it is. See, that's the thing. It is a military in a sense. I mean, it's patterned in its naming of ships and it's how it ranks its officers. All these things. It's a military organization that is choosing to allow its curiosity and exploration to win out. So if we're on the personality test, on the Myers-Briggs, it's like one of those, like, I'm a close T or a close J. It's right at the edge. And so it's closer. So it gets close to 50-50. What you see, at least in the next generation moving forward, is this sense of we are trying to make this like a 60-40 split or 55, because it is 55-45, because we want to say that we lean toward exploration, but it doesn't take long before, the militarism really has to, but we always have to we want to lean toward exploration, but we must always be prepared to be militant. Yeah. That's, I think, the way it casts it. And so because that balance is so close, and seemingly those things that they teach that Picard will speak eloquently about related to Starfleet Academy, that is what makes you lean toward exploration. I mean, without that, I think we'd be tempted strongly to move the other way.
Yeah. Well said. Is Starfleet a military? Is it just exploration? I think that's a false dichotomy. I think it's both. I think it is a group of explorers who have a military presence, because if you're going to be intelligent, if you're going to be shrewd, you need to have guns in order to protect yourself against people who have guns. Like phasers, torpedoes exist because other people may not be as friendly as you are. And while you having weapons doesn't mean you're not friendly, it means, just in case someone else isn't friendly, I can protect and defend myself and other people so that they don't have to go through it. So yes, it is a military. It is also a group of explorers. Both can be true. Both can be parts of Starfleet. That's why I really like the introduction of the Makos in Enterprise, because it was one of those things. It's like, it just makes sense. There was a video game for Voyager, Elite Force, where you had a group of, they call them the Hazard Team, who was prepared for military stuff. It's like, that makes sense. Why hasn't this been here? Well, it's because some people are very afraid of putting that in Star Trek. And I get it, because, you want this to be an optimistic show. There's some idealism that should be there about how, where things should go. Roddenberry had as many quirks. And one of them is he imagined that humans had evolved beyond such silly things and the like. And you know what? The man gave us Star Trek. I will make fun of him, but I also praise him at the same time. I think we're still wrestling with that concept. And DS9 is probably the best that we've done with showing that there is a military here behind the exploration. So both can be true. Have the desire to better yourself, have the desire to seek out new life and new civilizations, but also, what if this new civilization happens to be the Romulan Star Empire? Well, we kind of need to make sure they don't take us over, so let's have a military in place while also exploring. So Gene
Roddenberry gave us the mirror universe in the original series, right? And so the mirror universe features the Terran Empire, and I do think this, in Gene's imagination, really was the part of the answer to the question. So if Starfleet doesn't exist with some of the virtues that Gene Roddenberry thought should be there. In some ways, I do think that the creation of Starfleet Academy, later really is to say, this is what's the school that if Gene Roddenberry created a school, what would it be like? Well, it's going to be something like the Starfleet Academy. But so what if you don't have that? What if you don't have these Roddenberryan ideals? You get the Terran Empire. And the Terran Empire, again, is, they're more Earth-centric and just militaristic, like about conquest. And so in some ways, I guess I'm agreeing with Gene. And in a lot of ways, I guess I'm agreeing with Gene in that I think that is a result of our lesser selves. And we've seen it over and over again in Earth history, where the desire for conquest and control, as a reaction to fear is so high that, my gosh, let's just take over the world. That's the mentality we struggle with.
No, I'm with you. Like, if there is no Starfleet Academy in the sense that the Federation exists, we're working together, these different races, different planets, something would replace it, because you still need an academy, you still need stuff, but it wouldn't be Starfleet. And I don't think humanity would have gone full Terran Empire, but there still would have been aspects that would have been, that wouldn't be Star Trek. Humanity, would they have conquered, Risa or Andor or Andoria or what have you? Could be. And thinking that themselves wise. So what Starfleet Academy does is it helps build up the central premise. We are a federation. A federation is a group of people working together for common interests. And Academy is one of the best places to see that, because you will literally see there's a human, there's an Andorian, there's a Tellarite. Way in the future, I think it was a lower decks. I think we saw a Borg at one point in time. It's like, you know what? That's great, because that's what it teaches us. It's more cosmopolitan in that sense of everyone coming together because we've met each other. Now we need to, what do we do with that? Do we just go our separate ways, or do we actually interact with one another, learn about each other? And I think that's what Starfleet Academy does really well. So moving on from there, another question we've been asking is would we rather be the mentor or the influencer in this series? So idea being, would we rather be a teacher, professor at Starfleet Academy, or would rather be the person learning in Starfleet Academy?
My. I this is part a phase of life question, because I at different points in life, certainly would have loved to have been a cadet. At other points I would have enjoyed being the gardener, and at this point, I think I'm I'd like to be a professor of the academy, but I could see myself being happy being the gardener. So I'm at this maybe this edge right now. I think it really would be fun to be a part of that active formation.
And we'll get to the gardener in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned with age and my time in seminary is that, I've probably said this before, but it bears repeating. I love learning. Mm-hmm. I hate being a student.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that. There's a structure, a rigidity that's supposed to be inherent in becoming a student. Like, a professor is the one who sets what you're supposed to learn, how you're supposed to learn it, what books you're supposed to read. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why I'd prefer to be the professor, all things considered. But I have learned over time that I'm just rebellious when it comes to someone else telling me to do something. And that's something I have to kill inside myself daily. But it'd be a lot easier not to do that if I wasn't the student.
You're right. Right. Because you get to learn. You still get to learn if you're if you're a professor, you've got to be an active lifelong learner. But
I choose what I want to do.
Exactly.
That's the main difference.
Exactly.
No one told me you have to study this.
Exactly.
So, I'd love to be like maybe an historian or religious studies or something like that at Starfleet Academy, because, I don't really focus too much on it, but like you have all these different alien races. They've got to have religions and cultures that like, they're not all monoliths. They're not just a planet of hats. Like what is Vulcan spirituality compared to Klingon or what have you? Like, that'd be so much fun to learn. Like, I'd study that all day long. Obviously,
Yes.
holding still to my faith and then like comparing and contrasting. But like, to teach someone else about, this is how they think. This is why they think the way they do. No, that'd be so much fun.
Oh, man. 100%. I'm with you.
All right. So I just got kind of a broader one. So like, we mentioned some stuff with Picard earlier, but like main character's time in the academies, Kirk and beyond, like anything that kind of sticks out to you, how Starfleet helped shape them and who they are, Academy?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Picard is the strongest one in my thinking. I mean, you really, I jump from Picard almost to some of these newer iterations in the more recent years of Star Trek, where they do spend some of the most time really talking about Starfleet's influence. But I should pause and say, and I think we're gonna talk about this, but it through the movies, you do get this sense of Jim Kirk and at least a moment in his Starfleet formation.
Yeah.
That we'll pause
We'll talk
on
Kobayashi Maru in a bit.
The Kobayashi Maru test is and how it formed his character, and so you start to once you know about the Kobayashi Maru, then you kind of look back across the original series and you're like, okay, I get this guy even more. And this lack of belief in no-win scenarios. Kirk is this person who so if the next generation, the way the Enterprise moves through the universe through there are moments of serendipity, but just moments of smarts. I mean, these folks they're smart. They stick by their principles, and that gets them through. Right?
Yeah.
In the original series, Kirk is like bending the universe to his will. I mean, that is seemingly how you get through these scrapes. But we see that part of there's just something that was part of him, and you see how he engages Starfleet Academy, still bending the rules to himself. So I think about Kirk in a different kind of way than I think about Picard when I think about Starfleet Academy. But what about you? Who are some of the people you think about?
With that in mind, like obviously Starfleet Academy they were building up on the idea over time. There wasn't the serialization of the original series. Like there was no like set plan. There was no like everything had to, because that's how viewership worked back in the day. Like you couldn't expect your audience to always know what happened last episode. So you had to write almost like every episode was a new one. Mm-hmm. But with Kirk's decision making, like in hindsight, you could retcon the idea of, well, that's why he does what he does. Yeah. Because he believes so much in the ideals of the Federation that he learned during his time in the Academy to protect these things. And bending the rules. Yeah, he's a maverick. That's just who he is. But he wasn't a maverick just to be a maverick. He was a maverick because sometimes rules got in the way of protecting people. They got in the way of doing the right thing, right. And protecting his people. And those were core values he would have been taught in Starfleet Academy, and helped make him who he was. I'm trying to think of other things. Janeway's time in the Academy, she kind of mentions talking about another character we're about to get to, like learning under his tutelage, how to care for things is very huge for her. It's a nice humanizing moment for Janeway. Sisko talks about a time where he was like bullied by a Vulcan. I think it was like Saval or something like that.
Right.
He was in a wrestling club there, which was like, hey, they have clubs. It's not just a school. Like naturally, schools would have stuff like that.
Mhm.
It helps humanize him. Honestly, kind of humanizes the Vulcan too in that episode with the baseball one that they do. It's a really fun one. In the middle of a war, we can have a nice, fun holographic baseball game. And like what it does, these small moments, because we don't really get too many scenes inside of Starfleet Academy, outside of Wrath of Khan, really, before we get to newer series. But what we see is the after effects of their time. And they are who they are because they were taught this way, because they learned this way, because they challenged rules that were placed by the Academy and the like.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have the series without that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even as you move forward and you think about Christopher Pike, and it is forming the people to be moral beings moving through the universe, and that is the heart of Starfleet. When Starfleet loses that, it loses itself.
Yeah. Speaking of a moral being, like not really an unsung hero if you're a fan, like if you really know, you know, but like Boothby. Boothby.
We just want to take a moment to ask you all to consider sponsoring our show. You can do so by becoming a member in the website down in the show's description. It takes a lot to keep this show running as far as editing equipment, paying the site that platforms our show to, all the different mediums where you listen to your podcast, going to events. There's a lot of cost behind this. And I was thinking of the most fun way to do this ad, and I was going to do like, one of those songs where it's like, there's a log on the lake, and then by the end, it's like there's a speck in the eye of the flea on the log on the lake or something. Then I realized that would just take too long, and I don't want to bore you guys. So I'm going to list some of the benefits you can get for being a member as a thank you to those who do take some of their funds to help sponsor our show. At the free tier, you get some perks, including like free episodes. Yeah, you don't even have to pay to get extra content that goes along with our annual theme, or even in collaboration with the Rethinking Faith, we're going to be doing Rethinking Comics, and you can get that on our website if you want to follow that series. As you move up to some of the paid tiers, you get access to exclusive merch only for our sponsors. You get access to the bonus questions we do each thing, and all kinds of things that are like shout outs for all tiers. You can get a shout out on the episode. All of the tiers come with some incredible benefits. As you go through some of the different ones moving up, you get different % off of our merchandise. We just straight up give you money towards purchasing stuff. Some of the tiers just get $10 a month to buy stuff from us. We do free giveaways. Some of the tiers come with birthday presents, Christmas presents, free t-shirts for our members. There are lots of things that we do because we just want to show our appreciation for those who are able to take their funds and sponsor our show. But we also want to remind you, whether or not you can financially support the show, we appreciate everyone who takes their time to listen to this. Remember that verse that's like, perhaps you're here for a time such as this. Well, perhaps you're here for a time such as sponsoring our show, or perhaps you're not here to listen to ads, and I should wrap this up.
My boy Boothby.
So finally someone from Starfleet Academy, not a professor, but the gardener. Take it away, Justin.
Boothby is like the freaking Dumbledore of Star Trek. And he doesn't have to be headmaster. So this is the why I I say like want to be a professor but could see myself as the gardener. Like, at a certain point, Boothby represents to me humility, and how this humble person who was never in charge still loomed largest in the lives of some of the characters that we respect the most in Star Trek. And that's, so he so in a way, like mentorship, even power, like he kind of turns some of it on its head. So I enjoy that he is this small character, but this whose mentorship looms large. So not an admiral, not a captain, groundskeeper, who found a way to make people feel seen and known. I mean, because he's on the margins in some way of this thing. Yeah. And so that this person who's on the margins of it managed to make folks who were more enfranchised in the entire system of Starfleet. He made them feel seen rather than them seeing him. He saw them and how powerful that was. How he knew everybody singing. Boothby is talking about folks in different classes and what they did, and Boothby is showing up to games and matches, and Boothby has a ministry there. He's the chaplain. He's the spiritual guy of Starfleet. I don't know of any other chaplains that have ever been referenced. Maybe there have been some that I've missed, but he is the chaplain and spiritual guide of this group, and he listens. He listens to their confessions. Yes. He listens enough to know who they are. And so he leads, he shapes generations of officers by listening and paying attention. And that feels so very spiritual to me. I'm a person who follows Ignatian spiritual practices, this idea of spiritual companionship and so it's just, so I feel that this is who Boothby is. He's a spiritual director of Starfleet. And anyway, so that's that. This is what I love about Boothby, and so Star Trek really understands something here, and I think there's a wisdom of putting him in there because he's got the ability to speak truth to power. So where does Picard learn that the Starfleet officer's first responsibility is to the truth? Maybe he learned that in the class, but if I'm a betting man, he learned that from Boothby.
Boothby is a kind of an excellent litmus test for other characters and how they react to him. Because as you stated, like, he's not their professor. He's not their leader. But one of the great indicator of a person is how do they treat the people who are supposedly beneath them? And we see Picard, we see Janeway speak very fondly of him as someone like, they didn't have to listen to a thing he said. They didn't have to look at the gardens that he cared for or even work with him in any way, but they chose to because they saw value not only in him, but also in what he had to impart. Yeah. Any of their professors could have said the same things as him, but chances are they probably didn't. Professors sometimes and pastors sometimes can sometimes get in our own way. We have a message. Hey, do this. And it's the right thing to do. Like, otherwise we wouldn't be saying it. But sometimes we miss the person in the midst of all that. And sometimes it takes someone who isn't in that position of authority to say, hey, he said this, absolutely right. But have you considered this? Or what about what's going on in your own life? We need Boothbys to help supplement lessons from professors, from pastors and the like, to make sure things run more smoothly, to make sure people are cared for. And that's what he does really well, not just for his garden, but for the people who are willing to listen to him, take time out of their day to be with him. It's not like he's out as some philosopher being like, oh, listen to my words. It's like, no, I'm spending time with you. We're getting to know each other. And while you're here, here's what I've learned over my long life.
Oh, man, yes. Boothby is helping people return to Eden. As we think about it in the scriptural tradition, right? The Garden of Eden, or Jesus being mistaken as a gardener post resurrection. So we tend to think of gardens in these very spiritual ways, and those who form gardens intend gardens to be having some bit of a divine element to them, or being ones who move toward the divine. Yeah. Well, this is what Boothby does. I mean, Star Trek is its spirituality is interesting, and get quite a bit of it in Deep Space Nine, but and other parts of it, it's like, oh well, hey, secular humanism. Here we go. But Boothby represents something spiritual, and yeah, that idea that sometimes what changes us, sometimes the people who change us the most are not people who are in charge, because apart from the names that we know and love, Admiral Janeway, Admiral Picard, different people who at a certain point, and Picard as Chancellor for a bit of the Starfleet Academy, at least according to the newer Picard series. For the most part, there is not any other, or in Kirk, so think about people who achieve the rank of Admiral at some point. Other than the ones that we know and love, there's nobody that we esteem in Star Trek leadership. When you think about it, like these admirals in the original series and the movies, the Next Generation,
always causing problems.
They're always causing problems. Always. And so these are not the people that we're looking toward for any kind of moral authority, but Boothby. Yeah.
All right. I know we're going on long.
Oh, yes.
But we have to talk about the Kobayashi Maru. Justin, can you explain the Kobayashi Maru?
The Kobayashi Maru is a test that all cadets take, and they're put. It's meant to expose them expose their character in these impossible conditions. So it is a no-win scenario. You're there, folks are coming in, Klingons are attacking, somebody's attacking, and you've got to make decisions, consequential decisions for the life and well-being of your ship and of its crew. And no matter what you do, the test creates more variables to ensure your failure. So it's meant to reveal how someone responds to failure, to sacrifice, to pressure, and so in that way, it is a refining fire that shows who you are. If it's true that we see the best of who we are under pressure, this is meant to show who you really are. You got to let go of the facades in the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, it's one of those. When you're watching the opening of Wrath of Khan, which I got to do really recently with Shatner hosting, it was a lot of fun.
Ooh, wow.
with my dad. You're like, what's going on here? Who is this woman in charge of the Enterprise? She's a Vulcan like Spock, and like the rest of the crew's there. But like, then you see the reveal. Like, no, this was the simulation. Like testing your resolve in the face of everything that's going on. Like, how do you handle high pressure situations? How do you handle losing? And that's huge, especially for someone who's going to seek a command position, because you got to make tough decisions on the fly, knowing you may make the wrong decision, knowing it may cost the lives of your crew. Like, it's a brilliant idea. And we see in the one of the main cruxes of the film is Kirk's idea of, I don't believe in the no-win situation. What does he actually do later on in the film when he's presented with a no-win situation? Like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah.
And we see Spock make the decision he makes because he also had to take the test forever ago.
Yeah.
But we learn, as Kirk teaches Saavik, I cheated. I changed, everything about it. I messed with the system and got a commendation for it. Everyone was mad because that's not how you're supposed to do it, but he did. And that's so fun. It's so like, how would another character respond in that scenario? Like, how does Sisko face it versus Picard face it versus Janeway face it, so on and so forth. And it's not canon, but it's one of the Star Trek novels for Enterprise called Kobayashi Maru. And the idea being, this is what actually happened. Archer and the Enterprise faced a scenario with the Kobayashi Maru. I don't remember all the circumstances, but it's him looking back and going, what could I have done differently? I faced all these things as a captain, and that becoming like the basis for, we should use this as a testing for cadets and the like. Now, obviously, things have changed. We're allies with the Klingons now. Sometimes it's Romulan, sometimes it's some other race. But the central premise remains. What do you do when you have no way out of a scenario, regardless of what you do?
So freaking good, man. So good. And just to say, we all benefit from this.
Yes.
And because as someone once said, character is not formed. We don't grow as people when we're on a beach sipping on lemonade. We grow as people through the crucibles of life. That builds character. It builds who we are. And the Christian tradition has believed that strongly, and spiritual, and I would say many spiritual traditions believe that in various ways.
It's one of those things that Jesus never promised we'd never go through trials and tribulations. No, he said he'd be there with us as we went through them, becoming the people he needs us to be.
Right.
The people we actually want to be. Yeah, in the moment it sucks, because bad things are bad. I mean, it's as simple as that is. We don't like going through it, but yet at the end of the day, I can look back at everything I've suffered through and go, this is who I am today.
Right.
I am a different person. I make different choices now because I suffered the loss of my grandfather, because I made that stupid decision that ended a friendship. Like, may I never do the same thing again. Like, it's a perfect example in a fictional way of showing what we should go through in life.
Right. Yeah. And it shapes us. And this is, one might even say, even when we think about Kirk trying to skirt defeat, as his character matures really through the movies, we see how things that don't work out, even though Spock comes back to life. But, we start to see, how it shapes us, or Picard saying in Star Trek V, Kirk saying in Star Trek V, to Cyborg, I need my pain. This is what makes me who I am. If you take the pain and guilt away from me, I'll be somebody else. I need my pain. So at some point, he's learned that this is how one grows.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Kobayashi Maru, as we're winding things down, our bonus question for the day is going to be ourselves asking the question, how would we revamp the Kobayashi Maru test for modern Trek? Because obviously Klingons are allies now. You can't really doing that. Romulans are now kind of allies. Like, how would we change things up, spice it up for cadets? Because you could just tell them, oh, this is what happens. So you could potentially do something. Like, let's make it new for them. So, Justin, anything else you'd like to say about Starfleet Academy before we move on?
No. I other than just reiterating that I love it here, and I love this question that you've raised about how we would revamp the Kobayashi Maru.
Perfect. All right. Do you have a recommendation for the audience to check out?
Golly, for all those who's not seen it, jump into For All Mankind. Fun, just interesting stuff as far as sci-fi, and everybody who hasn't caught up on He-Man, get on it. It's time.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend Monster. Monster is manga and anime about a doctor in Germany. He's a Japanese doctor who immigrated there, and he's faced with a decision. Do I save this prominent person who gives money to the hospital, or do I save the life of this kid? He chooses the kid. Unfortunately, the kid has been programmed to become a serial killer. He didn't know that. And now that kid has gone off to grow up and kill people, and he's wrestling with, did I make the right decision? What can I do now to stop him? Do I break my Hippocratic oath and kill this man before he can kill someone else? An immensely great psychological series. Once again, simply titled Monster. Ooh. So, real quick, I'd like to thank some supporters real quick. Thank you very much to Ethan Overcash, Austin Nance, Amber Riley, Jonathan Augustine, Gunnar Bergam, and Frank Troglauer. You guys are the best. But remember, we're all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
Howdy guys, I really hate to interrupt, but my name's TJ, and I'm here to tell you about our new merch. We have incredible new stuff with Fourth Wall. We have just partnered with them as a new store. They have a lot more to offer, which means we have a lot more to offer. We can now offer you beautiful Comfort Colors t-shirts. They're so comfy. I wear mine all the time, and we've got it all now. Cups, hats, backpacks, pajamas. If you want your systematic geekology pajamas, you know where to go. My personal favorite is actually our Throne of Geeks shirt. It is Comfort Colors, blue, black, green, red, orange, and the shirts are just so nice, and the shirt itself
We've got the Throne of Iron, geeked out, because, you know, that's our brand. We've got Mjolnir on there, the Buster Sword, Trident. Basically just the coolest weapons from our favorite properties are on the shirt instead of a bunch of normal boring swords from the boring series Game of Thrones. So check that out, and thank you.
This is Joshua Knoll. I am one of the hosts of this podcast. I am also host a few other shows on the Anazal Podcast Network that this show is a part of. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out the Whole Church Podcast, where TJ and I go through talking to people from various different church traditions to see what can be done to better harness church unity in the world today. You can also hear me on Be Living Water, where I talk about Taoist Christian beliefs and examine various media like the Book of Daniel and Les Miserables through a Taoist Christian perspective. You can also hear me as I do some of the voice work for the Bible After Hours, where the foul-mouthed preacher goes through the Bible from a more progressive point of view. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you'll consider checking out these other shows on the Anazal Podcast Network.